The Addams Family is an enduring franchise set around a unique family that prefers the macabre side of life. Celebrating the everyday's Halloween characteristics, the family live what they consider to be a normal life surrounded by oddities, symbols of death, and generally creepy possessions. As a result of their aesthetic and spooky preferences, the family are often disliked by local residents and are regularly victimized by this prejudice.
Why are you dressed like somebody died?
Wait.
Although the Addams Family tend to be linked to Halloween and have been adopted by the Goth subculture, they have accumulated a far-reaching audience and fan base across the world, spanning nearly 8 decades of multimedia storytelling. The Addams Family began as a printed cartoon by Charles Addams, an artist with a preference of drawing spooky cartoons and dark satire. Charles started his career retouching photos of cadavers for True Detective magazine. From the mid-1930s, Addams worked as a freelancer for The New Yorker, and this became the birthplace of the Addams Family. The family remained as unnamed characters in the comics. They would be engaged in macabre or creepy scenarios, with a glimmer of humanity or wholesomeness. In 1959, the artist would publish Dear Dead Days, a collection of images that inspired Addams in creating the family. Despite lacking a fully formed narrative, the themes of a classic American family, viewed through a macabre and spooky lens, were formed in these cartoons, although the family lives in a large Victorian house that has become synonymous with the horror genre. It's stated that the house was likely inspired by College Hall on the University of Pennsylvania campus in which Charles attended, as well as his hometown, Westfield, New Jersey. The family are generally good-natured, and in some ways live an idyllic lifestyle, albeit their aristocratic wealth. Charles Addams said of the family, "The house is a wreck, of course, but this is a house-proud family just the same, and every trap door is in good repair." The comedy of the cartoons comes from the twist on normal life, typically taking the expected and adding a layer of dark humour, such as kids returning from camp in cages. The comics were sometimes gruesome but typically satirical, more grim than grotesque. Given the popularity of the comics, David Levy, a TV producer, approached Addams directly to create a TV show based on the characters. Addams would name and further flesh out the characters with Levy, who continued with bringing the family onto television. In 1964, the family would make their first transition of medium, from paper to television screen. "They're not monsters or ghouls," Levy once said. "They're simply a rather peculiar family in the neighbourhood." The Addams Family debuted within days of the Munsters, a family of actual supernatural monsters originating from the Universal Studios Monsters franchise. The Addams Family was a black and white sitcom based in the Addams Mansion, with simple stories surrounding the family. The mansion filled with oddities, including the family themselves. We see nooses hanging from above, cauldrons, a monstrous plant, and large taxidermy throughout. They were unconventional characters with a consistent theme of macabre interests and dark approaches to life. The parents, Morticia and Gomez, are affectionate and loving. Gomez in particular shows a lot of love and respect to his partner, a change of pace against many sitcoms of the time. The couple preferred to homeschool their children, Pugsley and Wednesday, due to their disagreements with the traditional school curriculum, and allegedly spoil their children with torture equipment, preferring their children to play with weaponry such as dynamite instead of toys. Grandmama, a character clearly designed around a stereotypical witch, and the peculiar Uncle Fester, are seen throwing knives instead of darts. The family also have help in the form of a disembodied hand called Thing, and Lurch, a large mute man with characteristics similar to Frankenstein's monster. Levy said of the show, "We are living up to the spirit of his cartoons. He is more than just a cartoonist, he's a social commentator and a great wit." The show was well received, with a hit season reportedly gaining 70% of the audience. However, after 2 seasons, the networks would claim that having 2 horror sitcoms, The Munsters and The Addams Family, airing at the same time would be their downfall. Both shows would also coincidentally be cancelled around the same time. William Shawn, the New Yorker editor at the time, had banned The Addams Family from the publication, while that it was a so-called mainstream sitcom, as it would seem uncouth of the New Yorker's image. 6 years later, the family would take another step into cultural significance, and into another medium, animation. The family would appear in the 1972 The New Scooby-Doo Movies TV series, as animated by the Hanna-Barbera studio in their signature style. It's credited as being based on the Charles Addams cartoons, as opposed to the TV series. This transformation would introduce the Addams Family to children who likely wouldn't have seen the New Yorker comics or even the TV sitcom. A year later, the Addams Family would have their own animated TV show, produced by the same studio. With 16 episodes, the show would maintain the same themes and morals portrayed by the TV series, but with cartoon wackiness and stunts, and less social satire. The family travels around in a camper van, or recreational vehicle, styled on their Gothic mansion, scaring the general public in their path. 4 years on, the cast of the original TV series would return in a made-for-TV film, Halloween with the New Addams Family. The original show would enter syndication, being rerun on various stations for nearly 2 decades. The Addams Family would develop a cult following, particularly in the Goth subculture through the 1980s, in which Morticia Addams would become a fashion icon. In September 1988, Charles Addams, creator and artist of the original comics, sadly died of a heart attack. Addams had published 10 anthologies of drawings by his death. Despite interest from 20th Century Fox, the rights of the TV show and therefore film prospects were held by Orion Pictures, the studio behind the original TV show, and later bought by Paramount during production of a new film due to money issues at Orion. The film production brought in the writers of Edward Scissorhands to write the screenplay. The producer of the original TV show, David Levy, would go on to sue the production company, claiming he held the rights to a lot of the characteristics of the family during his conversion from Charles's cartoons to TV. This was settled out of court. The film was the directorial debut for Barry Sonnenfeld. According to Sonnenfeld, both Terry Gilliam and Tim Burton had been approached and declined.
Come on, kids, what do I have to do to strike a deal with you two?
The style of these directors and Sonnenfeld's previous work as a cinematographer imply a particular style was being planned. The film notably cast Angelica Houston of The Witches as Morticia Addams, Christopher Lloyd of Back to the Future as Uncle Fester, and a young Christina Ricci as Wednesday Addams. This film was praised for its return to the darker tones found in the original comic, while also adopting an aesthetic similar to the popular films of Tim Burton, combined with Charles Addams cartoons. By using excellent set dressing, props, and special effects, the Addams Family home was as powerful as the family themselves. The film maintained the family ideals from the TV show, depicting the parents as a loving and respecting couple, with a connected and caring family as a whole. Ultimately, the film accurately depicted that judging someone from the outside is a misleading and generalizing mistake. Here is a family in a dark Gothic mansion, surrounded by depiction of mortality and grim aesthetics, but they are one of the most loving families in cinema. As well as the original TV show, now considered a classic sitcom, this film and depiction of the family would become synonymous with the Addams Family as a franchise. The success of the film would also widen the fan base, and even result in the best-selling pinball machine of all time. In 1992, animation studio Hanna-Barbera would create another animation series based on the original comic cartoons. This animation features the family in their spooky mansion, facing local prejudice by concerned neighbours, and parodying everyday life through their unique perspectives. By now, the Addams Family had featured in several video games, including Fester's Quest, The Addams Family, Pugsley's Scavenger Hunt, and Addams Family Values. The family would also be featured in a range of Honda adverts. 5 years later, a further sitcom and additional film would be released, with new separate casts each. The Addams Family Reunion was a straight-to-video release, named so, despite only including Lurch and Thing as returning cast members. It failed to find similar success to its former counterparts. Featuring Tim Curry as a dynamic Gomez, the special effects and overall tone are lacking, especially compared to the early 90s films. Family Reunion would remain a VHS release, without a DVD format, adding to its poor performance. The new Addams Family TV show was a colour revival of the 1960s Addams Family TV series. This version saw another new cast, except Nicole Fugger, returning as Wednesday Addams, from the Addams Family Reunion. However, despite efforts in maintaining the eerie style of the house and creepy characteristics of the family, the series failed to capture the same magic and audience as the previous successful installments. While the successful movies and the new Addams Family TV series would have regular reruns, new media wouldn't be created for another decade. The family featured in a dark chocolate M&M commercial in 2007. The same year, an Addams Family musical was announced and opened in 2010. The musical would go on to be a global success, achieving regular 100% capacity at showings. Additionally, an attempt to create a Tim Burton stop-motion film based on the original comic characters was eventually cancelled in 2010. The film was to be created by Minion studio Illumination, as well as Universal. MGM would make moves to release a new animated Addams Family feature. This project was completed and released in 2019. The Addams Family is a 3D animated film based on the original comic cartoon characters. The film has a celebrity cast, including Oscar Isaac, Charlize Theron, Finn Wolfhard, Bette Midler, and Snoop Dogg. Despite average critical reviews, the animation was very successful financially, and went on to prove that despite a nearly 2 decades hiatus from screens, the Addams Family had accrued a large global fan base, and interest in the spooky unit was at a high. In 2021, a sequel to the successful 3D animation is scheduled for release. Additionally, a live-action Tim Burton Netflix series focusing on Wednesday Addams has been reported, with suggestions being that the series will follow the daughter in school. Around 80 years after Charles Addams drew his first Addams Family cartoon, the family have maintained the public's interest with their spooky antics and uniquely dark perspective on life. The narrative of the Addams Family allows storytellers to frame thoughts, ideas, and plots with a peculiar and sometimes eccentric eye. The family are a loving and compassionate group, accepting and celebrating alternative lifestyles and promoting to stay true to one's ideals. They are also a reminder that being different isn't a bad thing. It can actually be positive and rewarding. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this, please like and subscribe.